Hi,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. IG switched it up on me again. So I don't do lives often. So I was just like, okay, there's new buttons.
This is literally like my second one.
Oh, okay, wow. 'Cause, yeah, last time I tried to do this, it was crazy. And then now I'm like, okay, there's new buttons. The buttons are on the side. Now the buttons are in the middle, but we're gonna get through this.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
This is amazing to me because I always look for careers that are not popular, especially like for people of color, for women of color, especially Black women. So I was able to find you, and you said yes to do this interview. So I greatly appreciate it.
How'd you find me?
Google.
Oh God, that's hilarious.
I've listen, I make like a list of careers that I find or that people tell me that they're interested in learning about. And then I'm like, okay, so now I gotta find someone and I literally Google and I see what comes up. And then
What did you Google?
I think I Googled audio engineers, like Black audio engineers actually.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. This is how I'm finding everybody. I've been finding so many dope people, so I don't
How
know.
many?
Google's
How
working
many
for me.
came up when you Google it?
Not many, because first I was looking at like producers too.
Mhm.
So because I'm in Canada, like I try to find people in Canada, but it's like it's even less than like in the US. So it's
Yeah.
super hard to find someone. So then I couldn't find really anybody in Canada. There was like two people that I found. And then so I started to look in the US, and that's when you came up. And I did at the time I did not know your background either. So I just reached out, and then when you said yes, I started researching, and I was just like, "Oh my God, this is wild." So
What part of Canada you in?
I'm in Montreal.
Oh, I like Montreal.
Montreal's cool, especially in the summer. In the
Yeah.
winter, I don't really
No, no,
recommend.
no. Nowhere in Canada is cool in the winter.
So see, Brooklyn Beauty says it's a struggle out here. It's yeah, it's a struggle. But in the summertime, it is beautiful. It is nice. So that makes it amazing. But if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, and tell us also too, like what is an FOH engineer?
FOH means front of house. Um, so I'm a front of house engineer and basically the sound person for in layman's terms. um, we do way more than just be sound people, but just for an understanding, that's what it is. I do the sound for concerts or shows or whatever an audience goes to see an artist. I am responsible for you guys hearing the show, basically.
Okay, perfect. And then, so then you said you do more than just the sound. So what are some of your like main responsibilities?
I most of the time, a front of house engineer is responsible for choosing the microphones that are being used on stage, um, making sure what we call the input list, like what
Mhm.
might the sources. So kick drum, down like each source, kick drum, not just the drum kit, but
Okay.
each part of the drum kit, how we're gonna mic it, what mics to use, and we create a list. Um, Down to everything that's on stage that needs to be heard and how it's going to be heard, whether it's through a microphone or through a DI box or anything like that. Front of house is usually responsible along with uh, the other audio engineer who's usually on tour, which is a monitor engineer, and the monitor engineer does the sound for the performers basically.
Okay.
So in order for them to hear, you need a monitor engineer. And sometimes the front of house engineer also does monitors from front of house, but when you get to like the level of touring that I do, they're two separate because it's just too much going on. You're not gonna be able to do like both. But yeah, the front of house engineer and audio team on tour are responsible for anything audio that goes on for the show or tour, like literally everything. So it's not,
It's
you are responsible
super
for
important.
how it's going to be heard and the resources we need in order to be heard, down to like power on stage, how everything is getting powered up, everything. And then monitor engineer, like I said, mixes for the performers, and then I mix and make it sound leveled out and everything for the audience.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, that's really important, especially at a concert, because sound is everything. So,
Yeah.
but what I did read about you is that you didn't start with engineering. You started in as singing, right?
Correct. I went to school and I studied vocal performance. I was studying to be an opera singer. Um,
Wow.
and I did that for a while. Like, you know, I got my degree and then stayed in Chicago a couple years after I graduated and tried it. It's just, you know, not for me. I didn't
But
want
that happens to a lot of us. Like we go to school for one thing and then we notice like, hey, this is not what I want to do for like various reasons. But
Right.
sometimes it's hard for us to make that switch into something else. So how did you figure out that like audio engineering was for you, and how did you make that transition?
Well, it was a while. Like I said, it was 2 years. And then it honestly, it was a leap of faith. I had a friend that went to SAE in Atlanta who also went to Roosevelt, Chicago with me. And he left Roosevelt to go to SAE. And he was in Atlanta doing fairly well, you know, interning at really cool studios and working at either interning or working at studios. And I just was like, I still wanted to do music. And I kind of started getting into a little production on GarageBand and like, you know, trying to figure that out. So I thought, oh, maybe I'll, you know, pivot to being a producer or something, because I still want to do music. I just didn't know in what capacity. So I went to SAE. Like, it honestly was a leap of faith. I didn't know anything from a compressor to a microphone. I had no idea what I was getting into.
Oh, wow.
I just went for it. And once I started getting into the curriculum and, you know, just want to do well in school, I just fell in love with it. And yeah, just went from there. And I started, you know, just having in my mind that I was about to be a recording and mixing engineer. And at the time, the curriculum for live sound was only 4 days. Um, so that doing live sound was not in my mind at all. I just was focused on being a recording and mixing engineer, and just did the 9-month program, got my diploma, started working, interning. I just worked my butt off. I had like 3 interns at one time, internships at one time, and I started
Okay.
working at SAE. Um, and honestly, I started doing live sound because I needed money. You know, the internships weren't paying me, and the job at SAE wasn't paying me enough. And so I had a friend and a classmate that just cold called churches in Atlanta to see if they needed some help in the audio in their audio departments. And I had to take him to his interview. He needed a ride, and he was just like, "Come along with me, come into the interview." No, I can't go to your. I'll take you. I can't go on your interview with you. He's like, "No, just come on." I went on his interview, and they ended up hiring both of us. And that's literally
Oh,
how I started
wow.
doing live sound. I had never done it before. I just like, okay, well, I'll apply some techniques that I learned in school, and some don't work for sure. But it was a trial and error. And once I got the hang of it, I just was like, oh, this is where it's at. I don't want to sit in a studio. I want to do live sound and like be in it, get the, you know, the immediate gratification that happens when you do live sound. Then it just went from there.
I love that. So I have, well, I have two questions from that. But first, you were saying you finished because you got your certification. And so how long was the course exactly?
At that time, SAE's curriculum was only 9 months. I think it's
Okay.
expanded a bit now. Um,
Okay.
but when I was there, that was 2010, and it was only 9 months. But it was hardcore, like hardcore. Yeah,
Yeah, because you have
you
to
had
learn
to
all
spend.
that stuff in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, that's why the live sound class is only 4 days. Every subject was everything. It was a different subject every week. I
Oh,
think the
wow.
longest week was 2 weeks, and a week in at that time in their curriculum was 4 days, because on Friday you had to do your labs or whatever assignments that were, due, that's part of being in the studio. And we had to go to like different workshops and stuff too on Fridays. So it was literally Monday through Thursday classes. And the longest class was learning Pro Tools. That was 2 weeks. But everything else was only 4 days.
Wow. And do you find it helped a lot? Because you said some of it, no, when you got the job. So some things that you were able to apply, and then some of them.
Correct. Like some things that differ, like mic choices, you can't really use a lot of condenser mics in a live sound setting, because it's just too many variables, and condenser mics are more sensitive than dynamic mics. So I just kind of learned that on the job. But like as far as learning how to mic up a piano or learning how to mic up a drum set is something that I did take with me from school, some different techniques.
Okay. And the workshops, they were more like hands-on and stuff like that you got to do, or?
Some of them, and they would bring in like industry working people. So because it was a studio based curriculum, they would bring in producers that were in Atlanta that were connected to the school, or engineers. One of my teachers was a great engineer. He worked at Hit Factory when it was in Miami. So
Yeah.
like, like Diddy, Bad Boy Days, and he mixed a lot of that, recorded, mixed some of that stuff, and mixed some Lil Kim stuff. He mixed on Beyonce's first solo album. So he would, as a teacher, he was great, but then sometimes he would do workshops. So it'd be people like that would come in on Fridays, and we could learn from them. They would do different workshops.
No, that's cool. But also too, because times are changing, not everything is the same. Like I find before, like it was like mandatory for you to go to school, get your certification, get your degree. But now a lot of times, like people are learning more on their own and being like self-taught. So for the field that you're in, are you able to just be self-taught, or to get like a job on a tour, do you have to have some type of certification?
You don't necessarily have to have a certification. That's something I be trying to explain to my mom, because she's super old school. She's like, we gotta get you your website and put your certifications and stuff. And I'm like, that a lot of times it doesn't matter. Now, I will say my degree has helped me, especially with working at SAE,
Okay.
because they needed people with actual bachelor degrees on staff, so that kind of helped me get that job. But as far as being on the road or being a studio engineer, it's not really necessary that you be certified in anything. It depends on if you go the corporate route. That would probably help you, a certification. So like maybe CNN or Turner or something like that, they will be glad to have someone who's certified in Pro Tools or something like that. But it's not really necessary. I wish that I did have more like technical training,
Okay.
because I feel like I have just like a God-given talent to mix or whatever, but like the technical stuff I kind of missed out on, because I didn't really train at a production company or in a shop or anything. I just, like I said, it was thrown in there and make it work.
But I find sometimes that those are like the best ways to kind of learn, when you're
That's the
kind of
best way I learned, for sure.
yeah, you're thrown into a situation, you kind of have to figure it out on your own. Because I think too, like it builds your confidence. You're not really relying on like the resources or what have you. So I think that's pretty cool. So somebody had asked in the comments, how did you get your first tour gig?
My first tour gig was with Janelle, and I went to high school with her tour and production manager, and at the time also her MD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, her MD at the time, Terrence, he played piano for the choir in high school for me. And then we did like a summer program together, and he played piano, was one of the producers, and we used to carpool and stuff. So I had that type of connection to her camp. But they had been with her for a while, and I was in between contracts. I had just finished my first contract working as an audio tech on a cruise ship,
Oh,
and I did not want to go back at all, but I was preparing myself to. And I was preparing myself to talk to Jeff, who's her tour and production manager, about how to break into touring and, you know, how to get my foot in the door and anything. So, but he ended up calling me because Janelle went to him and said that she wanted a woman on her crew, and preferably at the front of house position. And so Jeff knew that that's what I was doing, and he hit me up and was like, I know you never toured before, but hey, this
that's
opportunity is
so
here.
that's so dope because Janelle's like a huge star. And so for that to be your first like tour gig, like
It was
that's
scary.
amazing. Yeah, I was about to ask, like, were you nervous? Like how was that going in?
It was I was scared. I ain't even gonna hold you. I was scared, but I was ready, and I wanted it.
Okay.
I was ready mentally.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
and I just was I wanted it. Like I said, I was literally preparing myself to talk to Jeff to see what I needed to do. So when he was like, send me your resume and whatever else he needed, it was sent before we even got off the phone. Yeah, he always jokes and like, I got the job because I just responded faster than the one other girl they found. And so it was scary. You know, I didn't know anything about advancing a show or, you know, setting up being on tour, setting up a console, load in, load out. Um, you know, just a lot of stuff. I just didn't know. I didn't even know how much I was supposed to get paid. You know, I had to call a friend that had done like a Sprite tour. You remember Sprite used to do those tours?
Yeah.
And like the
Yeah.
bus was wrapped or something. He had done one of those tours, and that was the only person I knew to talk to about how to like be in this space. Um, and as far as, you know, how much I was supposed to get paid or how I was supposed to get paid, how often, all the, like, I just didn't know anything. So I just prayed and, and talked to different people I knew, and just went from there.
But the team that she had, because you said a lot of people were working with her for like years
Mm-hmm.
before you joined in. So were they very like supportive? Were they people that you could like lean on to like ask questions and stuff like that?
Most of them, I will say, yeah, most of them were. And like I said, Jeff and I went to high school together, so he was really like, you know, there helping and teaching me and rooting for me.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's good because I know sometimes you get into places and you as a new girl, you kind of like either way you do have to prove yourself, but some people take that a little further than
Right.
you sometimes. So at least that's good. You have people to like ask questions and kind of lean on it for the things that you did not know so that they can fill in those gaps and help you. And then on your own as well, because you were mentally ready, you were able to, learn things as you moved along. But I wanted to know too, because you got that phone call for that opportunity. So how important is it to kind of build your network in the industry?
It's important. Even now, like, it's some people in the on the live now watching that I'm still, you know, connected to, that help me get gigs. So it's important to build a network and to continue to build a network, especially if you are trying to get to a certain level. You need to know people at the level that you're trying to get to, so that they can, you know, help you or bring you along and let you know what it is, what you need to move ahead.
Okay, and what tips do you have for someone who is like entering this field and they're looking for their first opportunity? What tips can you provide them for like looking for a job?
I would say don't limit yourself. Even if you aren't, you know, a practicing Christian or Christian, I would say church is a good place to learn, because it's more stable And especially now, since we're doing all this virtual stuff, it's just more things to learn and to get under your belt that will make you more resourceful as an engineer, or anything that you're trying to do in audio. Um, and just like look up, like you Googled and just found things, like it's just that easy. Um, I started 10 years ago. So, we were on the cusp of how the internet has just blown up right now, and technology. But now it's just easy as Google. Like, you want to do audio, just Google audio, or, different production companies in your city or around the city or in a city that you want to live in. It's about your environment too. I was living in Atlanta for 8 years, and I moved to LA because I wanted to get more clients and a certain caliber of clients. So I
Okay.
had to go where that happens. So you can't be scared to change your environment either. You might be alone for a little while, but after you start working, and you can build your network from there. But yeah, don't limit yourself, and don't be afraid to take risks. Everything I've been blessed with is because I really stepped out on faith and took the risk and just went for it.
But it's worked out, and I think that's so important, to not limit yourself, because a lot of times we're in different cities and we don't see the opportunity right in front of us. So we feel that it's not there and we kind of give up early,
Right.
or go into maybe another field that it's not fulfilling to us. So I think that's important. Also, like you said, like, look at things that maybe you didn't think that you would work at, just to get that experience will help too. And let me tell you, you already know Google is my best friend. So
Clearly.
when I started out in PR, when I got my certification, I didn't know, like, because I always wanted to work in music, but I didn't know what labels we had here or anything like that. So again, I Googled PR
Right.
companies. I found them. We have a lot of companies that are in beauty and fashion. So I wrote to them just asking for an opportunity, and I heard back, and that's how I was able to get like hands-on experience within PR, and it really helped me figure out what I like, what I didn't like.
Right.
So I think that's so important. Even though it's not something that I initially saw as my end goal, it really helped me prepare for a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now. So I think that's really important for people to just be open to different opportunities. And if you have to move, just get that
Move.
done, and it will definitely work out if that is what you want. So I do love that.
And
Uh,
you're gonna continue to learn about, like, I'm still learning about different positions in just in audio. There's so many different avenues that you can take and make good money in just in audio alone, because you got TV shows, you have film, you have these music, like The Voice, American Idol, those type of shows, late night shows. It's just a lot that people just don't think about, that take these shows, that have to make these shows happen.
no, I love that. And is that something that you're thinking of doing, is like moving, maybe not moving out of concert like permanently, but maybe shifting into other fields like TV and movies and stuff?
I thought about it, yeah, especially being in LA. I am interested in production mixing, like I said, for shows like The Voice or American Idol, things like that, because I still want to do music.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it is in my mind. But I love mixing shows. I want to do that as long as my body allows me to, and as
Okay.
long as the world doesn't shut down again.
We're gonna get to that part too, because I want to know how that, well, last year was insane, but I want to know how that affected you. So for your job, when things are moving, so what is the part that you enjoy the most, and what part is, I guess, more challenging?
I love the most the travel aspect for sure. I love traveling and experiencing different cultures and different people, um, and just being able to, the audio side of it. I love being one of the few crew members who actually get to see the show.
Okay.
Um, and the front of house position is very special because of that, because you get to see a show that you've seen built from scratch, or and that you help be a part of to build. Um, everybody else don't get to see the show. They are the show. But at front of house, I get to experience it, and the front of house position is usually in the middle of the audience, so that's a whole other feeling too. Like you get to, it's crazy to just be able to experience it, and be a part of it while experiencing it. It's different.
No,
Um,
that's cool that you get to do that, because I'm a person that I love concerts. So I always see that area where the front of house is. So you not only get to see the show, but you also get the energy of the crowd that's like
right,
kind of surrounding you too,
right.
which is pretty cool. And
Yeah.
then what's challenging?
What's challenging? Touring is a sport. So it is, you got to be conditioned and ready for your body to like be beat down. And a lot of people think that, it's glamorous and all. And, you get some, a few perks and get to be in certain spaces and buildings and around certain people, but it's still a job, and it can be taxing on your body. I have 15 to 18 hour days, sometimes. There's not a day that's less than 12 hours for sure, on tour for sure, or even just a regular like gig. I just left LA filling in for a friend, and the actual shoot day was 12, 13 hours. And people don't really, you know, get that part of it. All they see is the end product, or, I don't post a lot on Instagram, but when I do, that's all they see. And they like, oh, you live the life. And I do. I'm very blessed. I've been very blessed to be in certain places and experience certain things, but my body has experienced it too. And I ain't no spring chicken. But it's been cool. Like you just have to learn yourself and learn what you need in order to keep going and to maintain and to protect your peace and your body, and eat right, do what you need to do to stay healthy.
Yeah, I could imagine it could be grueling, because with you doing the audio part too, like you're not just doing the tours, it's also the different stops. Like if let's say it's Janelle, she's performing on Good Morning America or something like that. Like you're also there for that as well, right?
Right, and that has happened. Like I've had a show with her when we toured EFIS, that when she was they did a compilation album with all the artists on EFIS, and we did the tour. And in New York, it was our New York show, and we did that one night, and the next morning was the Today Show. So we just stayed up because the load in for Today Show is 2 a.m. So like, show ends, load out is done at what, like 12 midnight, 12:30. So you gotta go back to work at 2 a.m. So things like that do happen. I've definitely experienced that.
So crazy. Yeah, a lot of people don't think about that, like especially the traveling aspect too. Like if ever like you're stuck in the airport or something like that, like different things do happen. So I don't think people take that into account. They just kind of just see the concert or the
Right.
shows and things like that, like award show performances, and just think it's just that's it
Right.
for that
No,
hour.
I've been stuck in the airport, ran, and the door closed in our face.
Oh,
It's I lived on a ship for 6 months.
wow. How was that? Because I'm not a fan of cruises, but how is that to work on a cruise?
It's different when you are the audio tech on a cruise ship. You're basically the only one, and you're in charge of all the lounges, um, everything that has a microphone and that has to be amplified. Is your responsibility. Even like on the deck where the pool is, there's speakers that pump out music. I had to maintain those and make sure things work. So that is another place where I really kind of cut my teeth and like learn some stuff about audio and and just had to, make it work because I didn't really have a manager that knew a lot about audio. A lot of those managers on the cruise ships are really AV guys, like audio visual, but not for real audio people. So the entire ship is your responsibility.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that seems a lot, but I think too, like you said, it's good to learn because
for
you
sure.
don't really have anybody else. It's just you.
Right.
Wow. Okay, so I do want to know, again, we were talking a little bit about COVID. So COVID happened, everything got shut down, tours canceled, everything. So what were you able to do during that time, like to just keep yourself going, to keep your head straight because everything just stopped just like that?
That is where I was grateful and why I am an advocate for going to school
Mm-hmm.
for certain things, because I was able to go back to the studio and
Okay.
be a recording engineer. And that, like I said, I did that like 10 years ago, and for 2020 to be that and to have to bring me back full circle and go back to the studio and back to where I started learning audio was a blessing in disguise. So I'm very grateful for my education in that, because it was the one thing that was sustaining me until I got a church gig and I was doing live, but that's still not the same, but I was able to be in the studio, and I got in the studio tough, like heavy, and met some younger engineers and learned more about Pro Tools and just got my chops back up. So um, I recorded an EP with the artist that I'm working with here in Memphis, Tangela, and we just released a single on June 11th, this past Friday, Dirty. So
Okay.
stream it. I recorded, mixed it, and did some vocal production on there. And yeah, like gained some more recording clients and mixing clients, and it's been cool. I mixed some stuff for Janelle too. Like she did a lot of virtual performances and
Mm-hmm.
pre-record stuff, and was able to get in the studio and mix that stuff, and it's been pretty cool.
Okay, so then that's good because a lot of people at first they were just lost, a little bit of panic too because we didn't really know what was happening. But I'm
I
glad you
was
were
definitely
able.
panicked. I was like, what, what, what am I about to do? you know,
But you figured it out, which is great.
yes.
Yeah, because yeah, a lot of us were just like it was good because I was like, okay, I need a break. But then
Mm-hmm.
after,
For sure.
especially as like a creative person, sometimes we always kind of on the go, like we want to keep going and figure out like what's next. So we don't always get to like sit down for long periods of time. So after like a day or two, it was kind of like, okay, now like, what can I do? What's
A
happening?
day or two. Let's see, 2019 was crazy for me. Like I worked literally all year. So even up until I brought 2020 in
Mhm.
on an Australian tour with LMA. So I was still working. And had just done the Oscars in February, like February 2020. That was my last I did a show on Valentine's Day with Tank. That was my last show. And so I was still working, but you know, I needed a break and I was ready. Like I had planned a break. Not that long. I was like, oh Lord, I ain't asked for all this time.
But that, I think all of us were like, we all wanted a break, but then we were just like, it's not what
Okay,
we
break
said
over.
as a break.
For sure.
But I am happy that you were able to continue on in the studio and also do like virtual shows and stuff, just to keep going. Because I think it's important that we all found something for us to do to keep busy because sitting home watching the news
Yeah, it
was
was horrible.
was not it. So I do also want to know, for people who are interested in audio engineering, like, is there any resources that you would recommend or any books or even like a YouTube channel that you would recommend for people just to up knowledge a bit?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, Sound Girls is a great resource, not just for women, but anybody in audio. If you go to Pro Sound Web, though they're pretty cool with offering information. On Facebook, there's a Black Roadies group. What else? Oh, I'm like drawing a blank now that you asked. If you hadn't asked, I would have. I have more questions. My answers. I mean, any console that anyone is interested in, go to their website. They have many trainings and YouTube channels.
Is there a console that you would recommend for people who are starting out to get?
I don't want to like endorse anyone.
Oh, we won't do that.
Because they all offer different things that are beneficial in, learning.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I would say, like I said, I am a learner by doing. So, find, if you are interested in starting doing audio, like find a church that needs some help. They'll let you play on the console every now and then. Just run some signal through it, your phone, anything. What else? What are some other good resources? Google.
Google is it, let me tell you.
There are a few books. I can't think off the top of my head now, but I'm developing a course, a live sound course, and live sound reinforcement. The Yamaha book is really good. Yeah, it's a bunch of stuff in there. Just like, even if you go to Amazon and just type in live sound, you can find a bunch of books listed that are very good and resourceful.
Perfect. And then also too, like starting out, I guess we would say, before you got like your first tour gig, like what is something you wish somebody would have told you before you started?
I got asked this question earlier. I just, like I said, I wish I had someone that would have taken me under their wing and explain the technical side of things, like how to work my way through a console, how to build a show file, even, down to the administrative side of things, how to advance a show, the different jargon of what we call, a PA, a box versus speaker, things like that. And I just, wish someone explained to me professionalism in this industry, because you deal with a lot of high profile people, and you need to just know how to be around and, not be seen, and understand that it's not about you. Because a lot of people, that's just me as a person.
Yeah.
I like to mind my business. So I work well, but a lot of people, they get into this industry and they're just excited, and it's like, but this is a job still. I know touring and being in audio, or working at a club, it's fun, but it's still a job. What else do I wish someone would have told me? Yeah, that's mainly just like tour culture and understanding like the technical side of things, as far as, like cabling. What's a 5-pin cable versus a XLR? What is like snake? Things like that.
So then you spoke earlier about interning. So I would assume that's something that's really important to do. So with interning, is it also important to maybe have like mentorship as well?
Yes, I will say that's, and I think that's kind of something that's, in my opinion, missing on the live sound side of things. Because when I was in school to be a studio engineer, it that's what was told us. Once you graduate, you get an internship. Look for an internship. They had a job placement person just for you to get an internship. That
Okay.
doesn't really happen on the live side, on the live sound side of things. You kind of like, you got to find the people yourself and figure out, the type of music that you want to mix or be around, or and try to find those people that will maybe allow you to come to a rehearsal, or maybe allow you
Yeah.
to, come to the shop and set up a console and just, break it down for you, things like that. On the studio side of things, there's always an internship. But even with that, you like making runs, you're going to get people food or making coffee or cleaning up the studio. It's barely any audio part of internship. So I do recommend internships, but if you're a studio engineer, find a good studio that's going to allow you to actually do some audio and learn. You're not just going to be a runner or a coffee maker or the weed person, for the studio.
No, that's really important because I find a lot of times, luckily, it didn't happen to me when I did different internships, but a lot of times people just are kind of like an assistant where they just do the runs. They're not really learning hands-on, or they're not
Yes.
able to really take in like what it is about that job they'll actually like or not like, or what they need to improve on. But I think, I don't know in this field, but I know like there's been talks of changing like the format of an intern, and then also maybe taking away um, unpaid internships too.
Right. There
Because
needs to be some type of incentive.
yeah, so I find too, like if the information that you're giving is not really helping the person, then maybe it should be paid. Because I find like my internships,
Exactly.
I learned a lot. So I was okay with not getting paid because the information that I learned was really valuable to me, and it's stuff that I still use today. So I was okay with that. But there's been other stories that I heard, and I was just like, whoa, like this is wild. So
Yeah,
I'm
I had
hoping,
both experiences. I was blessed to have internships where I actually learned, and the engineers was like, yeah, like hop in, or you can sit next to me and ask questions. Or one internship I had, I was the engineer. I wasn't getting paid, but I was the engineer, so I was cool with that because it just helped me get better as a recording engineer. Um, but yeah, that's like on the live sound thing. That's why I started an initiative called Line Check. Like on the Janelle tour and LMA, I brought girls out um, to just kind of shadow me and just be there and ask questions, whatever. And it wasn't just for audio either. If you mentioned audio, tour production, production management, tour management, if you were just into concert production, I opened it up to girls first because we just don't really we aren't exposed to it a lot and don't know that it is a viable career that we can have. We only see the person on stage and don't understand that there is something else behind there that you can do to make money. So yeah, I brought girls on and they just kind of shadowed me and asked questions and sat there and you know learned. And after sound check, we would just go sit and chop it up and whatever questions they had, because I just really think it's about exposure. Once you're exposed,
yeah.
then you can't say that you didn't know or anything, and that this is something else that'll just open your mind to another pathway.
Exactly. I love that that you do that, and I think it's so important. Like I wish there was more access for kids, especially here in Montreal, for like young kids, people of color, to have those experiences. Because I feel like I started out late because I didn't know this was even a possibility. So now I feel like I'm kind of like running against time to like kind of build up my experience when it comes to PR, when it comes to like radio hosting and different things like that. So I think that's amazing what you're doing. So I really love that. So yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time. It's almost coming up to an hour. So I want to know, do you have like any last advice that you want to give or anything like that?
Um, yeah, you do have time, and that's to you too. I know, like, because I felt the same way. I feel like I got a late start on things, but you have time. I didn't. I've been touring for 8 years. It will be this year. So, and I'll be 35 next month. So I was closer to 30 than not, when it really
Yeah.
started to pop up. So, um, yeah, just don't limit yourself and know that you have time. Like there is room, and people want good workers. If you have good work ethic and you are focused on what you're trying to do, um, there's opportunity there.
Love that. I want to thank you so much, Amanda, for joining me,
Yeah, sure.
giving all this information. It's been amazing to talk to you, to learn all these different things. So I really, really appreciate it. I did answer, there was one person that put the question in, and I did answer that. So I think that is everything for this week. Perfect. So yes, thank you so much. I will be in touch to give this live to you. So I'll be in touch by email.
Okay, thank you so much for asking me to do this.
Thank you so much. So have a good evening.
You too.
Thanks.